Hey, gang. So, as activists, we are always looking for ways to stay engaged, but in a post Trump environment, three words I just don't get tired of saying, a lot of people are unsure about where to put their efforts. And so, with that in mind, we're going to learn about an online tool called the Take Action Network and how it can work for you. With us are our friends Daniel Weise and Louise Pathe. Daniel led a research group in Microsoft Research for a decade. Before that, he was a professor at Stanford and earned his PhD at the MIT Artificial Intelligence Lab. He is the creator and developer of the Take Action Network, or TAN. Hello, Daniel. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm fine today. Thank you.
We are so glad to have you with us. And of course, Louise will be familiar to so many people watching. She has been very successfully using TAN in her capacity on the steering committees for the Washington Indivisible Network and also Indivisible Eastside. Hello, Louise. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Hi.
So, by the way, I'm just going to note right off the bat here that it is the Take Action Network, not to be confused with the Action Network. So, Louise, I'm going to start with you on this because you are so expert at explaining this and have done it so many times. What is the Take Action Network and what is it designed to do?
So Take Action Network, or TAN, it's a website for activists, and it's designed to make taking action easy. It's so that the activists can have control of what kind of actions they get to see and that things are customized just for the activist. So people who join can get customized actions that show contact information for their legislators or their members of Congress and their information. So Indivisible Eastside has been publishing actions via email, newsletter, Facebook, and on our website since 2017. But in 2018, we started publishing them also on TAN.
I want to get a sense of how all of that has been playing out. But basically, so it's an online tool that helps activists take action on the things that they care about and direct that action in specific ways. So let's just get a little more granular from a user standpoint. Tell us how it works. Let's say I'm somebody who wants to focus on the climate. What do I do?
So anybody can go to TAN and they can see actions and they could search for particular things that they're interested in, like climate. But if they create a profile, or as we say, sign up on TAN, then they will get an email sent to them with actions that are tailored for them based on what they've said they're interested in. So they can, there's a page that's called favorites where you can say what types of actions you're like or what issues you care about. And so that controls what things are offered to you.
How many notifications do you generally receive and how often?
So if you just kind of do the standard sign up, you would get one email a day and it would have your 10 top suggested actions. And you could decide, oh, I'll take these 3 top ones today. There are other ways to do it. You can do these searches that you can set up and it will only send you something when something new has shown up that pertains to your search.
And can you go, say you've heard about a specific bill and you want to hear about the action that is related specifically to that bill, you can go in there and search that bill number and it'll bring up an action if there is one, right?
You can search that bill number and it will bring up what we call the bill page. And on that bill page, it will show all the past actions that have happened for that bill, if any. It'll show what organizations care about that bill, you know, that it's a priority for. So yes, it will show if there's an active action for that bill.
Who is adding these actions to TAN and what are the criteria that they're using to be included?
So currently, for the last couple of years, Washington Indivisible groups around the state have been advocating for progressive bills in different ways. And in last spring, we could see that TAN could be a really great tool to help these people who care about advocating to track bills. And so Daniel did a lot of work building in a connection between the Washington State ledge.wa.gov and TAN to help these trackers. So these people are connected with organizations that are very targeted to what they care about. So the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability, and so each of the trackers will have a relationship with an organization that is very focused on a particular issue.
And the calls to action themselves are actually written by, I know that you do some of them. Who else does them?
Yeah, we have about 40 Indivisible members who are trained to use TAN, and I think about 25 or so of them are pretty active. So they will actually create the calls to action, but all the talking points and the scripts and things are they're helped by relationships that they might have with the prime sponsor for the bill or these allied groups. So these indivisibles are kind of like a connecting tissue between either the bill sponsor or the group and the indivisible community.
So there's a real human touch to all of this. Daniel, this is your baby. Let's bring you in, man. Where did the idea come from? Why did you do this?
It like many things of the resistance, it sprang up in the wake of the 2016 election of Donald Trump. As part of that, Fuse Washington, shout out to them, they're fabulous, had created this very simple website for actions you could take. I saw that, and me and some other people went to then talk to the executive director, Aaron Ostrom, about how we thought it could really be done right. And you get the user response, okay, go do it. And so I basically went off and tried to do it a better way of how do you get actions to activists that want to take them.
And it really is. It's very user friendly. You can tell that there's a human touch behind it. And you said to me when we were preparing this that TAN flips the model from a push to pull functionality. That to me sounds a little technical, a little bit like advertising. How do you mean by that?
Well, I'll use a different metaphor for it. Then it's a matchmaker.
Okay.
So in the normal world, what happens is you're sitting at the end of somebody's email list, and you basically get pumped these email activist messages, and they sort of come randomly, and you're not quite sure what they're trying to accomplish at any time. TAN works differently in the sense that it's what we call a two-sided marketplace. There's a lot of people, or in the best worlds, when it's really working efficiently, there's a lot of sources of actions of things to do to make the world better, and there's a lot of activists. And so TAN becomes a matchmaker between all the actions that it knows about and what each activist tells it about themselves. And so it matches an activist's interests with the actions that are there that would be of interest to that activist.
I like the matchmaker is a perfect analogy. Tell us a little bit about the metrics, because I know that it does track data. What kinds of data points are you tracking with this?
I'm not sure that's sort of the right question. What kinds of things you're tracking? This is the internet. You know, you can track everything, including the number of seconds somebody sees some part of your page.
Well, let me ask you this. What data are you interested in tracking?
Well, first of all, we're interested in exposing the information on leg.wa.gov in such a way that it helps people make informed decisions about the actions they want to take. So the first and foremost information is what's out there about the bills that helps people decide what to do or not to do. Because, you know, if you go look at the will of actions, there's a lot of them, and no one's going to take all of them. But in terms of other metrics, yeah, we of course keep track of how many actions are taken per day. The types of actions that are taken. The thing that makes matchmaking possible is the fact that actions are tagged with what's the type of action, you know, who's trying to be targeted by the action. And so all that's sort of kept. So basically, who's taking what actions is the finest granularity that we keep around at the moment.
You have said that you are particularly interested in, well, first of all, you said that you had launched, shortly after the Trump election. I'm wondering if you've seen, and you don't have to get into specifics here, the growth in engagement since you launched. Have you watched that do anything in particular?
Oh yeah, So basically, as I mentioned before, that it's this two-sided marketplace, and it's one of the hardest things to launch in the world, regardless of whether it's politics or anything else, is a two-sided marketplace, because you have to fill the funnel with the supply and the demand at the same time. It's a very big chicken and egg. And so due to that, it's been an interesting idea, but it wasn't until Indivisible said, we're going to use this for this legislative session, that growth really took off, because Indivisible was able to supply both sides of it, which was activists willing to do stuff, as well as bill trackers willing to fill it. So it had quite, as we say in the technical world, a step function with respect to adoption and use.
It sounds like that's a bit of a sweet spot then. And one of the things that came up when we were talking about this in advance was concerns about privacy that people might have in terms of being able to, you know, the, have the sorts of actions that they're taking being tracked or what have you. Can you address some of those concerns?
Yeah. So I'm a bit of a privacy buff, and one of the reasons that, or one of the values we saw in Take Action Network from the beginning was, in the current world, if you want to take an action, you have to sign up with somebody's page. You hand over your email address, you hand over your phone number, and you get added to another email list, or you get texts. And it's not very user friendly, and it actually works against the activist. So part of our thing was, how do you take actions and know about this stuff without needing to hand over your contact information to everybody? And this went all the way to, you're not even allowed to know who else is on Take Action Network without them revealing themselves to you, which they actually have to do offline because they can't know about you either. And so we really have a very strong privacy model that for you for anybody to know anything about you always requires explicit permission.
Good. Okay. Good to know. This right now is currently just for Washington, is my understanding. Do you have plans to expand it?
No, not at all. We have enough to do with Washington. And we figure if the model proves itself, if people really like it, if it shows something, then the big boys will start stealing the features. So I'd love to be put out of business.
Okay. Well, Louise, let's bring you back here. I know that the Washington Indivisible Legislative Action Team, or WILA, which you mentioned earlier, has been using TAN a lot for the 2021 legislative session. And I actually can attest to this because I've used it a bunch, and I am just very, very pleased with the functionality. But I'll just ask you, watching it from a little bit more of a higher perch, how's it been working? What's your assessment?
I think it's been working great. We've Daniel and I have put a lot of effort into creating training materials for the various bill trackers so that they're really up to speed. But what's great about TAN is you don't necessarily have to be inside the TAN world in order to use the actions. We have people posting actions on Facebook. They include them in their newsletters. And so even if there are people that don't have a TAN account or a TAN profile, they can still take action. So I think it's been a really great tool.
I understand that one of the aims of TAN is to foster relationships between constituents and legislators. I'm wondering if you can talk about how that works and how that's been going.
So TAN, since it's so tied into the leg.wa.gov, it knows where a bill is at any given time, what committee it sits in, who's on that committee, what LDs they're in. And so the activists will only hear about a action if it relates to their legislator. And in that way, when they contact their rep or their senator about a particular bill, that person is in a position to make a decision. And so the activist is more informed, or at least appears more informed. The talking points are well crafted. The subject line is great. It says support this bill or oppose this bill. So instead of a scattershot, constantly contacting your rep, they get to know, oh, this person knows what they're talking about, and I care that they know about this.
Can I add one piece of color to that answer? Of course. Which is TAN's preferred mechanism for contacting legislators is email, right? And it's when the legislative assistant gets those emails, and many legislators read all the email they get as well. It's that direct contact via the email that helps establish the relationship as well. If you're just dumping comments in on the bill website, it doesn't do the same thing for you as the direct email, especially repeatedly.
And I will add that because the trackers are connected to the sponsors, they now have relationships with the sponsors. And I've been getting emails back from my reps about the bills that I've been contacting them about. So it's really improved the relationship.
I've been getting emails back as well. And yeah, it really actually makes you feel represented when you hear back from your representative on something that you've contacted them about. So thus far, in my usage of it, it has been focused a lot on legislative calls to action, not exclusively so. But I'm wondering, what is the plan after the session ends here in a few weeks?
Well, as I said, Indivisible Eastside's been using it for years. And our actions are not just state-based, they are often federal. So we had an action recently about HR 1, about the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. So it will continue, and with more people exposed to it, hopefully we'll have more organizations creating actions and, to fill what activists want to see.
Great. Yeah. At the federal level and beyond. So I get the sense right now that people are excited who are watching, listening by what they have heard. In fact, Olympia Indivisible has chimed in to say that they love the Take Action Network. So for those who are not using it currently, Daniel, what's the best way for people to get involved with TAN?
Well, if you are affiliated with an Indivisible group, then the best way is to ask your Indivisible group for an invitation to TAN. Because usually it comes with some extra documentation, what to expect, how to get the best value out of it. And so that whole package is very valuable. If you are not affiliated with an Indivisible group, then you can always go to the front door, takeaction.network, and there is a sign-up link. And you can then sign up and build yourself a profile so that you get actions funneled to you that you care about.
And just to be explicit, since it's preferred that leaders are the ones who sign up for this and then bring their group members in, what should group leaders do if they want to get access to TAN for their group?
Well, if you're, I'll let Louise handle that one for the Indivisible people.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah. Indivisible groups, they can contact me at walegcta@gmail.com. That's walegcta@gmail.com. And and I can set them up.
Excellent. I will have all that information for everybody in the show notes and also at indivisiblepodcast.org. And I will note as well that you have made a series of videos where people can learn more, and I will have those as well for listeners and viewers. Daniel Weise and Louise Pathe, so great to talk with both of you. I'm a fan of the work. I think it's fantastic, and I can't recommend it highly enough. So thank you to both of you for being here today and talking about it.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you.